Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Now what we have is someone who you've been reading his articles in Boomer Times, and he is a retired veterinarian. His name is Dr. Robert Ridgway, and he writes very unusual columns for us. They're about things that people have no idea about, and you'll see that in our upcoming issue in January. He talks about guidelines for cat diseases that are infections to humans. I mean, you can't find these kind of columns anywhere. I don't know, it's just in his brain or because he's so experienced. But good morning, Robert.
Morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome to 2020.
Yeah. Hey, I might have a hiccup during the interview.
Why is that?
Well, the Geek Squad's coming to look at my television at 7 o'clock.
Oh, well, we'll be finished by then.
Okay.
So what's wrong with your television?
If I knew.
You knew. Maybe there's a cat or dog in the back of it.
Yeah, and they're not running hard enough, something.
I wanted to tell you something, and I didn't know what you prepared to talk about today, but I would like to share something with you. I adopted another dog, and now my other dog had passed away, and he has congestive heart failure, and right now he has pneumonia, but he is the sweetest, most wonderful dog. He's quiet. He's sitting here. But there's a place in West Palm Beach called Peggy Adams Rescue. They were around since 1924. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Okay. They do a great job. And, they have what they call hospice. So I got him, and he's really in hospice, but I think he's going to live a long time. He's on lots of medication, and he's sitting here quietly. But what they do is when you take a dog like that, they supply all the medication, they supply the doctors, everything you need, because they just it's a no-kill shelter. And he's precious. And so I don't know what else I can do for him. Do you?
No, but that's not good. The disease he has is not good.
I know. But the medication, there are a lot of people with congestive heart failure. Do you know that?
I do.
Well, the thing is this. He is on an antibiotic for the pneumonia. Hopefully we'll clear that. He goes outside. He does his business. He does everything. He eats very well, sleeps very well. So I'm just going to give him a lot of love and take care of him. And who knows? He could beat the odds.
Well, let's hope that he does. The odds are against you.
No, but I don't ever look at that like that. So I know whatever it is, we're going to do the best we can. And I guess because you know of a lot of dogs that have had that.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so Robert, I'm going to get you talking here. You wrote this wonderful book, and you actually wrote another one which is the next one after that, The Truth About Dog and Cat Treatments and Anomalies. So when you go to a vet, they often don't tell you a lot of the things in your book. And why is that?
Well, I have no clue. I don't know what they're probably focused on what the disease of the pet, and they're not thinking about something else. I don't know.
Yeah, but if people will get your book, they would realize a lot of things that they, nowadays, of course, when you wrote this, I don't think that Google was there, but it wasn't as popular. Now, anything happens, you can get right on Google and find out a lot of things. Do you use Google?
Nope.
You don't?
No. I'm a clumsy when it comes to computers.
Oh, you're computer illiterate, huh?
I don't know what I am. Stupid.
No, but it's a wonderful thing to have because, I could just look up anything, if a particular kind of a exercise or something about a cat or a dog, or it's amazing. I often wonder.
The only thing you don't know is if that information is actually correct.
Okay.
That's an unknown.
But it does give you an inkling of something.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, but even if it wasn't for information, you can buy things on the internet. You don't have to go to the store. You can look up something. As a matter of fact, getting back to my dog, when he's trying to get up, some of that phlegm, I looked up something on the internet, and there's like an inhaler. Like when you have asthma, you breathe in something. My vet told me that I could put him in a bathroom, steam it up, and that would help clear it up too. But there is a little machine you can get. Now, see, I didn't know about that, but you can get on the internet, look it up. It's like $25. You can buy it. So that's the beauty of this.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm not sure how effective that is.
Why?
Well, how do you know that he's breathing that in?
Oh, yeah, because if it's on his face and if it's working, it's like if I have, a cold, and we all know that there are these treatments that you can use, the steam and things that will help relieve the cough. So it might work.
I heard you say might.
Hey, you're being very negative this morning.
No, I'm just being reality.
Oh, you're being reality?
Yeah.
Well, I try things. I have to tell you that. I do try things, and most of the time they work.
That's good.
So in your life, there must be something that people talk to you about, and some people said, well, don't do that. It's like the new CBD oil. There's, this whole thing with hemp, and a lot of it does work.
If you say so.
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and I talk with a lot of doctors. I talk with a lot of health practitioners, and, people, it's not the way it used to be, that you got sick, you got an antibiotic, and that was it, and if it didn't work, you died. Now there's so many supplements and so many alternatives to things.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Well, when you're now retired, what do you fill your days and nights with?
I occupy space.
Hey, Dr. Ridgway, come on. There's, you've really had a wonderful life. You took care of so many animals when you were there as the veterinarian. And was that a no-kill center that you worked at? You worked at the Pound, didn't you?
Well, that was my last 10 years, yes. I worked at a lot of different jobs. I was in the Army, and I moved from one place somewhere in the world every other July.
And were you a vet when you were in the Army, or what did you do there?
You didn't know that the Army had veterinarians, did you?
No, I didn't know that. Because of the dogs,
No, that isn't the reason it was established. Actually, during the Spanish-American War, you've heard of it, I suppose.
Yes.
More soldiers were killed with food than with bullets.
With food?
With food, poison food.
Huh. Didn't know that.
Well, and as a result of that, the Army decided that they needed to have somebody pay attention to the food supply. And they realized that veterinarians were working in the packing plants and inspecting the carcasses. So they decided, first they were trying to get the physicians to do it, and there was so much ruckus they weren't about to do it. So anyway, they established the Veterinary Corps as a result of their experience in the Spanish-American War. And the primary purpose of the Veterinary Corps is food inspection, like at the origin of the food. Once you buy it, it's stored in a large facility, and so it's inspected before it's issued, and even after it's issued. I remember some people were drinking tea, and they said that their abdomen was painful. So we took some of the tea and sent it to the lab, and it came back and it had a fungus in it.
Huh.
And that fungus happened to be carcinogenic. Nobody drank enough tea to get a cancer, but you never know what's in the food. In fact, I got an article. I take a newsletter. It's called Health Letter After 50 Years of Age, produced by the University of California, Berkeley. And this one here was a 4-page report on food safety and how to stay clear of food poisoning.
Well, in the service, I do understand what you said. So they use the dogs to do the testing, in a sense, right?
No, you got it all wrong.
Okay, tell me.
All right. If I, for example, the tea that I told you about.
Yes.
There's a lab that tests the food to find what's wrong with it. So you get the food and send it to the lab, and they come up with a diagnosis of what's causing the problem. It has nothing to do with the dogs or cats or mice or rats or nothing. So that's how we found the fungus in the tea. We sent it to the lab, and they ran tests, and they found it.
But why? What about a veterinary corps? What purpose was that? What you just said?
Well, the veterinarian has a whole raft of enlisted people, and they inspect the food. They inspect the facilities. You wouldn't think that a facility would be dirty, but I had to. When I first got in the Army, my job was to inspect the downtown of El Paso, and I ran into one place that had this great big air conditioner hanging from the ceiling, and it dripped water. And there was a block of ice, I would say it's about 6 foot long and 3 foot deep, and there was all kinds of turkeys in that ice. And they would take rat poison or rodent poison and just throw it on the floor.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, they were taking, we said that the Army can't buy any food from them anymore. They cleaned that up in a heartbeat. So there's all kinds of things. I went into a donut shop. It was filthy. You wouldn't believe how bad it was. But anyway, so they do lots of things that have to do with sanitation for food. That was the primary purpose of the veterinary corps. The other thing they do, they have a research arm, and they help produce vaccines and stuff like that. So there's multiple purposes for the veterinary corps.
Interesting. See, now, I don't know whoever, this is news to us and probably all our listeners, the veterinary corps. Did you already finish your veterinarian education when you went into the service?
Well, you can't be in the veterinary corps unless you are a veterinarian.
I see. That's amazing. So how old were you when you went in?
That was 70 years ago. I don't remember how old I was.
You must have been in your 20s.
I think so.
That was interesting that there was a veterinary corps. Huh. It's hard to believe, but so you did have a purpose. So you really didn't get into any of the battlefields. You were just inspecting.
Well, if you're in the battlefield and the food's there, it's too late.
Right.
You need to get it before the food gets there.
Okay, so the soldiers ate a lot of Spam. I guess that was, I don't know. I can't believe people still eat that today. Do you know that?
I know it. I hate it.
Did you have to eat it?
Well, I was on a canoe trip with the Boy Scouts, and they had issued Spam, and we went in one evening, and we got there kind of early. We were setting up camp, and everybody broke out their Spam, and there was cans of Spam sitting all over that camp. Nobody ate it.
Oh, my goodness. I don't even know what Spam is.
I don't know. It's granulated gorilla grunt, little dirty birdie's feet. That's all I know.
It's what?
Granulated gorilla grunt.
You're funny.
And little dirty birdie's feet.
Oh, gee, that's terrible. I can't even think about it. But, you know, it seems to be, as someone told me in England, it's a delicacy. I can't believe it.
They eat some stuff that we don't like. I can tell you that.
Well, but you bring up a good point about eating food. You know, I have to say, just getting back to my dog, he eats very well, but they gave me the Science Care. That's the kind of food, and I wanted to give him something that I felt was much better for him. But when I did, and I did it slowly, it didn't agree with him. This other food, it really agrees with him, but I don't think it has all the right nutrition. As a veterinarian, how did you feel about the food, all the products that came out? So many products.
Well, it depends on what products you're talking about. Now the USDA looks at all these foods, and so now I would say that most foods are probably pretty good.
You know, what they do say is that people who like to cook their own food for their dogs, maybe in cats too, but they're missing out on certain things that you get when you buy it from a store. What do you think about that?
I think you're 100% correct. I know you're 100% correct.
So
there's a lot of nutrition, vitamins, etc., that's not in the food that's prepared at home. So the food that you buy has to meet a certain standard. The food that you make at home has no standard. And so the food that you provide at home, you may seem to be okay, but it's probably not.
So when you were practicing, you must have gotten huge amounts of, in huge bulk of food that you had to give your dogs and your cats. I wanted to ask you about that now with these shelters. Many of them are no-kill shelters, but what do? They just keep the dogs there no matter what?
Well, there's a lot of things behind the scenes when you say no-kill. For example, right next to the Orange County Animal Facility, they say they're no-kill. But what they did, if they had to kill an animal, is that they brought it over to Orange County.
Oh, I see. So they don't do it, but they bring it to a place that does do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
So I don't respect those places.
What, the no-kill places?
Yeah, they lie.
Oh, really?
Well, if they send animals someplace to have them killed, what do you think?
Of course. Yeah, I've not heard that before. Someone just told me that, as a matter of fact, because they said when they have so many, they just can't take care of them, so they take the ones that are in the worst shape.
Well, I don't know about that, but I worked at the shelter, and they sent several over to be euthanized, killed.
I just want everyone to know again, I'm talking to Dr. Robert Ridgway, and he does write an article for us in our monthly magazine. And I was thinking about that the I can understand why this no-kill shelter, and it really is Peggy Adams. If you take a chance, if you did get on Google, you could read about them. They started in 1924, and they have 15 acres in West Palm Beach, and they're very heavily funded by contributors. But they're very smart, so they have a thing called hospice. And the dogs that they, that have a lot of, they're very good in many ways, but they have some of these illnesses. So their idea is if someone will take the dog and take care of him or her, then they're not killing it, and the dog could live a very nice life, because his name is Jack, and he's lying here right now. He's terrific. I take care of him. I take him out. He does everything, and it's probably a nice thing for him because he's not suffering. He's enjoying his life. So there's a lot of aspects to that.
Yeah, the thing I don't like about those shelters is they don't tell the truth.
Yeah.
They hide it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably true. Well, nowadays, Dr. Ridgway, that happens in all out of businesses, doesn't it?
I suppose.
Well, so do you still have any animals personally now that you're retired?
We have a male cat. And we feed it Purina.
Well, I am feeding Jack, my dog, Science Care. And I know that even though you wonder about it, apparently what they've done is they either give it away or they give it reduced prices to all these shelters. And that's what's made them so famous. I mean, maybe the food's good, too. I hope it is.
Well, the science diet has had a lot of science in the development of the food. And its headquarters in Topeka, Kansas. And that stuff is expensive, but it does what they say that it's going to do.
Oh, good. Well, it hasn't really been. I mean, when I buy the kibbles, it's not really that expensive, but it's. So that's what I'm feeding him, and he eats it up. He loves it. He crunches on it, and then he has wonderful bowel movements, and he's in very good shape in a sense. So maybe the food is good.
I think it is. It's probably as good as you're going to ever get.
Even though the advertising on a lot of these others go crazy, they this is that and this is this. So yeah, I'm doing the best I can. I think it's fine. So now in 2020, have you made any plans for something different in your life? You're going to get on the internet better?
No.
Oh.
It's enough to write that article for your magazine.
So how do you get the information? Where do you get it from? Just your brain?
Sometimes I get it from the AVMA journal.
Ah.
It just depends on sometimes I look at the book and I wonder what in the world am I going to write about.
Well, you've been doing a good job. I mean, they're very unusual things, which I think is interesting. Otherwise, it would be competing with just the general information about dogs and cats. And that's why I like your articles, that you really touch on things that, especially Dan when you write about cats, because our administrator, Dan, he has 2 cats, and one is the big cat, what do they call it? The one that's I forget, a Maine Coon.
Alpha.
A Maine Coon.
Uh-huh. Well, the next article I got is a relationship between skin allergies in the dog may lead to behavioral issues.
Oh, that's good. That's a good one.
Well, that's upcoming.
That's good. Well, before you go, I get a little free advice. They gave me some pills, capsules for him, omega-3 or whatever it is. But the smell and the taste is so strong, and he eats so well, he will not eat that. I don't know what to do with it to get it in him.
Well, you need to disguise that smell.
How?
Well, let's see. Have you tried putting it in with the food that he eats?
Well, I can't because those are the kibbles. You know, that won't be disguised with that.
Anything, cover it with butter or...
Well, I do peanut butter maybe. I'll think of something, but thank you, Dr. Ridgway. We've just run out of time, and I'm so glad you called this morning. It's been a while.